The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory was a sweatshop of cruel treatment and harsh labor, one that eventually led to the fire that took the lives of many of its workers. Written down as the fire that rewrote the horrifying labor conditions of America, what really happened in this industrial building, and what led to the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, the tragic event that happened with preventable causes. To set the scene, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory was located on the top floors, the 8th, ninth, and 10th, of the Ash Building in New York City. Established in 1901 by co-owners Max Planck and Isaac Harris, the factory started out with unlivable wages, excessively long hours, unsanitary and dangerous working conditions, and harsh treatment, such as overbearing and abusive managers. A single floor would deck out 8 long tables, cram 240 workers, which were mostly young immigrant women and girls, and have barely enough room to exit. These conditions continued on with some resistance until late 1909. Clara Lemlich, triangle worker and member of the International Ladies Garment Workers Union, Local 25, encouraged interested shirtwaist makers to meet secretly with the union and the Women's Trade Union League to discuss workers' needs and the union's goals. Their discussion, along with that of many other shirtwaist factory workers, led to the New York Shirtwaist Strike of September 1909. Situated mainly with the issues of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, this was the largest woman-led strike in American history. However, in response to this uprising, Harris and Blanc disputed by sending prostitutes, bribed police officers, and thugs to beat the strikers and force the movement to end. This cruelty even went as far as the co-owners bribing judges to send workers to jail for striking. 2 months later, Blanc and Harris formed the Triangle Employees Benevolent Association, a company union run by their own relatives as officers. They set negotiations that barely helped workers, like slight workplace changes and insignificant pay increases, and did not allow the workers that joined the association to organize or fired anyone that joined another union. They forced workers to slowly be okay with their terms and slightly reduce the strike, but it was an important stepping stone to what was to come. Then on March 25, 1911, a fire broke out on the 8th floor of the building. With the lack of enforcement of the factory's no smoking rule, a thrown cigarette sparked the flame. This quickly grew on the immense amount of cotton and paper laying around the factory, and in less than a couple minutes, the fire was burning through the building. There could have been precautionary measures to ensure that these young workers were safe, but not only were they not available, but there were even more issues that blocked the workers to safety. Due to the 75-foot long tables, the already cramped workers had to jump over sewing machines and tables to get to the exits. The steel exit doors on the workers' floors were locked, as managers wanted to reduce time waste from worker breaks and prevent theft. But as the fire spread, the locked doors had to be broken open by the workers to escape. Management and owners Blanc and Harris were located on the 10th floor, but nobody came to unlock the doors on the 9th and 8th. Rather, the 10th floor had most people able to escape through roof access, a secret kept to the workers on the 8th and 9th floors. Sprinkler systems weren't installed as they were too expensive. Stairwells and hallways were too narrow for the hundreds of workers, and the one working elevator broke down after only 4 trips, and in a panic, women began jumping down the shaft to their deaths. Others jumped from windows. Meanwhile, firefighters at the scene had ladders that only reached the 6th floor, and water pressure of the hoses were too low to extinguish flames quickly, only helping workers overheating. The fire was eventually controlled and put out after a little over 30 minutes, but 146 workers had died. Bodies surrounded the ground around the building, while others in the building took officers hours to lower and save. They were mangled, burned, and unrecognizable, with the final victims being identified in 2011. Immediately, the city gathered in grief, and a massive funeral procession took place on April 5, 1911, for the victims of the fire. 350,000 people rallied to support, and thousands protested in the name of the lost, demanding action from the government. The Triangle owners Blanc and Harris were indicted on charges of manslaughter, but were never convicted in court. In the end, they paid families off in settlement and profited from inflated insurance claims that they submitted after the devastation. However, the uproar of the community led to fire safety laws and general reform practices that bettered the work environment as we know it today. In June that year, the New York legislature created the Factory Investigating Commission to question factories, interview workers, and hold public hearings. This drastically reduced the problems that harmed laborers and brought awareness to their conditions, which directly led to more than 30 health and safety laws being passed in state and eventually across the nation. One example, in October of 1911, was the Sullivan Hoey Fire, Prevention Law, passed by New York. It required factory owners to install sprinkler systems, establish the New York City Fire Prevention Bureau, and increase the power of the fire commissioner. The loss of the Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire still pushes for reform today, as OSHA, the leading administration in labor, holds the event in memory to continue to protect workers from danger. These labor and workplace laws continue to keep American workers safe today, but the lives lost in the Triangle Shirtwaist factory will continue to serve as a reminder for reform.